everybody hear me? All right, I'm Ben Edwards. I am the founder and CEO of Swappa. I'm here with Ward Johnsmeyer, our Director of Business Development, and we're here to talk a little bit about Swappa and what we do, how we do it, and more importantly, what we can hopefully do for you guys in the audience. And before we get into what Swappa does, I want to talk a little bit about where Swappa came from. And so, to do that, there we go. To do that, we're going to rewind back to 2010, which is relatively early in the smartphone era. My background is in software development, and at that time I wanted to get into doing mobile apps. I wanted to program Android apps specifically. And to do this, I needed a cache of various devices for development and testing purposes. Now, buying these new retail was just too expensive. So I knew I could save some money buying used. And so that's what I did using the services that were available at the time, which were primarily eBay and Craigslist. Unfortunately, I had tons of problems using both services. Too many to detail on a talk like this, but there was one story I wanted to share. So I was driving to meet a stranger in a dark parking lot late at night with a pocket full of cash, because that's how you properly Craigslist. I was buying, what could go wrong? I was buying a used Motorola Droid, and I got to, the seller was there, I got to handle the phone, see that it turned on, everything seemed fine, I thought it was safe, so I gave him a couple $100, and the seller and I left at the same time. Well, we ended up at a stoplight a block away together, and I look over and I see him looking over at me nervously, and suddenly he just can't take it anymore. He peels out through, runs 2 red lights to speed onto the highway and escape into the night. I'm left sitting there with a stupid look on my face, realizing I'd just been burned. Sure enough, when I get home and try to activate the device, Verizon tells me the droid's been blacklisted. I'm out of luck, so I learned an important lesson that night to never buy a used cell phone with cash. But more importantly, the idea for Swappa was born soon after. So what is Swappa? Swappa is a user-to-user marketplace for buying and selling newish mobile devices. That's kind of a mouthful, so we'll break it down. User-to-user marketplace means we help connect the users on our site to buy and sell directly with each other. We are not a middleman to the transaction. We're not a traditional storefront. Swappa is a sales facilitator. So think of us as a chaperone to safe buying and selling between our users. The mobile device things means exactly what you think of it would mean. Smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and that sort of thing. The newish part, though, is important because Swappa's marketplace does not allow junk devices. We have a strict no junk device policy. That means if your phone's been blacklisted or run over by something or dropped in the toilet, you can't sell it on Swappa. eBay would be happy to host the sale of your toilet phone, though, in case you're wondering. Now, how does Swappa work? In a lot of ways, it's like eBay. Users can create a listing, describe what they're selling, upload photos, and then get paid directly via PayPal. But that's about where the similarities end. The first big difference is that we focus on just mobile devices. And so this makes the buying and selling processes much more streamlined. It's just a lot easier to find what you're looking for when you can choose from a device catalog, for instance. Next big difference is that Swappa is human-powered. We employ a team of device or mobile experts and device enthusiasts who moderate the site 24/7, 365. And their primary job is basically to interact with their users from the pre-listing all the way through the post-sale process and just keep things safe and smooth. And they do a good job of this, but they also do the very important function of having to review and approve every listing that comes up for sale on Swappa. And so this is something unique to our marketplace, that every listing is human reviewed. And this goes a long way to ensure safety and prevent fraud and just keep things running smooth. Part of that review process is something else unique to Swappa, and that's when you post a smartphone for sale on Swappa, we require the seller to provide us the serial number or ESN of that device. We can then run that ESN using tools that we've developed using our data and partner data to ensure the device being sold hasn't been blacklisted, isn't a clone device, and basically just try to detect any other activation issues that might trip up a new buyer. And again, we're the only marketplace that does this, and it goes a long way to help ensure safe transactions. Now, for our services of providing a safe marketplace, Swappa charges a flat $10 sale fee paid by the buyer when a listing sells. This fee is typically way lower than competing marketplaces like eBay. And that's because we think the proceeds for sales belong in the pocket of the seller. And so on that note, last month, we're proud that nearly $5 million worth of proceeds went into our sellers' pockets for selling on Swappa. And so that's something we're proud of, but there's also something else that comes out of running a successful marketplace, and that's lots of useful data, especially around pricing and popularity of devices being bought and sold. And that's some of what Ward's going to talk to us about, so I'm going to hand off to him.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. All right, guys. I'm Ward Johnsmeyer, and I'm the Director of Business Development at Swappa. Attended the Wireless Repair Expo last year and did the Nashville Roundup, and have talked to people in repair for the last year. And the entrepreneurial spirit and creativity that we see is incredibly inspiring for us. And so we've been talking about, how can we work better together? How can we build additional technology that's specifically for you and that can be a benefit for your stores? And we're all trying to grow our business and serve our customers at the highest level. And so what I want to do is, when I've talked to people, I've heard, hey, we use Swappa for pricing. We go to your pricing pages. We've got the last 6 months of averages, real-time average sold. I mean, there's more data than you could possibly want. But there's other people who just use us for our ESN check, and that's fine too. And we'll get into some of that. But the reality is a lot of people are just using bits and pieces, and so we wanted to make sure before we get into too much that we give you just a high-level overview of some of the things we can do. This came out this week. That's why I picked it. It shows, and this is for consumers selling their devices, but repair shops and other retailers can certainly sell on Swappa. We've got a lot of different types of folks using the service. But as you can see here, just scrolling across, this happens all day long. The value that you get selling a device on Swappa is significant. We want you to, we collect a $10 fee, as Ben said. We're all trying to stay in business. You need to keep your proceeds. The values that you see elsewhere on this chart, that's what they say it's worth, but it's not reality. It's not the market value. And so when we talk about pricing, why would you even go to our pages and use some of this pricing data in your daily interaction in your shops? And so a couple of reasons. One, you want to make informed purchase decisions. So an objective third party, that's what we are. We're dealing with thousands and thousands of transactions every month. We know what devices are worth. We have carriers that use our data, buyback companies and consumers and others, and we're happy for that. But you can look at our data and get a pretty good idea of what a device is worth. And so that's one thing. And the biggest thing in my mind is educating customers on the value of a repair. So I've got 4 kids. I'm sure a lot of you guys have kids too. My kids destroy things, and I've taken way more trips to repair shops in the last year than I care to. But when I'm there, I always hear this conversation, and that's that, gosh, I don't know if it's $125 to fix the screen. I don't know if I really want to do that. I don't know if that makes sense. I had a friend call me recently and ask me about a scenario like that with his iPhone 6, and it had a cracked screen, and he's like, $125 to repair. I said, are you crazy? Your alternative is go pay $450 or $500 to get a used one or whatever the case may be. When you have proper context for what something's worth, and you're telling one of your clients to come into your store, hey, this is what it's worth, this is what a third party says, that's helpful, and it helps them kind of work through that in their mind. And so and we know that because a lot of consumers way undervalue what their devices are worth. Just a couple quick examples here. One of these is a chart just from our page. There's a lot of data there, but there's even more actually on the pricing page itself. But this one is just for a Galaxy S5 and Verizon. And then additionally, in the last year, we released an app on Android called Swappa Price. And this is just a really, really simple 3-screen app. And all it is that it auto-detects what phone you have, and it tells you what it's selling for on Swappa real time. It's got really nice, just a real simple search functionality. In probably 5 seconds, someone comes in, you could show them, hey, this is what your phone is selling for, and just give them that proper context for deciding whether or not to do a repair. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful. We've done another thing recently. We released a price list. And so this is kind of a weekly top 100 of what's selling on Swappa. We've got popularity data indexed, and we've also got just general pricing there, and that's available. It's available every day, every Monday it refreshes, and you can download that and make use of it. And so anyway, wanted to make sure you were aware of that. When I talked about people that use Swappa just for this little piece or that little piece, I'm sure there's a fair number of folks that use us for our ESN check. We know what the numbers are, but we have a very, big focus on anti-fraud. For a used marketplace and just the marketplace in general, it's not a good situation for people to be able to sell things that don't belong to them. So, we provide our ESN check. It's a public service. You can get a limited number of free checks. We do it for added security, both for our marketplace and for the broader marketplace. If someone's doing a transaction on Craigslist, at least they can check a device. I wouldn't advise it, but nevertheless, that's the story there. And just a couple quick things we do, just anti-fraud in general, that I thought you might be interested in. When you list a device on Swappa and you send us images, we have a random code that we generate, and we give you that code, not because we want to see you play with the code or write it on a napkin or whatever the case might be. We do it to make sure that the seller has the device in hand. It's a very low-tech approach, but it's much harder to fake. It's much harder to get past our team if we know that you've had to take a photo with that code. And so that's one thing. Another thing we do is device matching. So we've got a strong development team. We collect the IMEI and ESN on every sale. And so it doesn't take very long using some machine learning techniques for the patterns to reveal themselves. So we know after a short amount of data is collected, kind of what devices fit into what families. And the reason we do that is because our customer service team works extremely hard, just as yours does. We want them to be able to reply to you quickly. Right now you can get a response from Swappa probably in 5 minutes. And the only way we do that is by constantly investing in tools. I know James talking about Repair Queue. Having these tools available, they're force multipliers, and they just make the work easier. So there's that. But one of the things I really wanted to talk about today is not just some of the things that we do on Swappa in terms of tools, but we've got an announcement that we want to make that we're really excited about that'll benefit repair shops. But before we do that, I wanted to talk just a second about the used and broken phone opportunity for Swappa and repair. I heard it come up a little bit in the previous talk, but I had a conversation with Jeff Fieldhack recently at Counterpoint Research, and the general conversation was about, where are phones going in their second life? And there's a lot of data thrown out about this, but at the end of the day, I'll share with you what Jeff and I talked about and what they attribute. So we know in 2015, 150 million devices came to the end of their first life. And so 93 million of these are not going through traditional measurable channels like insurance, carriers, things of that sort. And because of that, they're sitting in drawers. They're going to repair shops. Maybe they're coming through Swappa buyback programs that aren't being measured and brought into the larger data set. But to me, this is a really great case for optimism for growth, both for the used marketplace and for repair. And the reason I say that is because with subsidies going away and with programs like EIP, people may not know exactly what their phone is worth, but they know that it has some value. And so more and more of these phones are getting, not being on the sidelines anymore, and they're coming into play, and people are looking to sell them, buy, sell, or trade, which you guys participate in, or maybe they just find another solution, but they're not leaving them in drawers as much any longer, and more we're going to see that trend emerge. And so, there we go. Minor technical difficulty. So what we do know in terms of pre-owned sold, we've got basically the as-is and locally recycled devices coming in at 20 million. This is what we can measure. 60 to 65% of those go to carriers, 26% OEMs, 8% retail, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. I mean, you kind of see where these devices are going. I was actually surprised to learn that 1 million devices are exported, refurbished, and then brought back. I didn't think the number was 1 million. I'm not sure what I expected. But what's the point of all this? Why are we talking about this, and how does it translate back to you and your business? So what we know is that 30% of the smartphones out there have cracked screens. And so people at some point are going to get tired of dealing with it, and that phone is going to go on to its second life, or it's going to be repaired. With Swappa, we have over 1 million monthly visitors on our site. And that's a pretty conservative number. In some cases, it's a lot higher than that. And so we have a problem, but we think you can help us with it. And specifically, that is, we don't want broken phones. We repel broken phones from our site as best we can because we can't moderate them in the way that we do our devices that are gently used in good working order. And we need to find a home for these phones, or basically we want to serve our customers better, and we need your help to do it. And so we know a better solution has to come along, and with 1 million people on the site, we're not selling 1 million phones every month, I can assure you. We're doing well, but we're not at that mark. These people are coming to investigate what they can do with their phone. Where should this go? How can I get something for it? Should I fix it? Answering these questions. And so we have a new solution. We have something new that's coming for you. And it's a couple of things. It's a map. It's your store in that map and your own page in that map. Basically your own site within Swappa, your own page. It's sending Swappa's broken phone users to you. And it's more visibility for your shops, more visibility just in general in organic search. And so I'm proud to let you guys know that in October we've got a pilot launching for the Swappa Repair Network. And so what is the Swappa Repair Network? Basically, it's a chance to get our 1 million monthly visitors that come and identify, and bring those folks to people in their community who are experts at doing repair, and they can help. You all can help them much better than we can. And so our intention is to start sending them on to you. If you're a subscriber, people are going to be able to find your store, in local search, and you're going to be able to have your own store page. We're going to give you a backlink. We've got strong domain authority. Our Alexa rank is pretty high. I think we're in the top 3,000 or something. I don't know. But it's certainly better than a poke in the eye having a backlink. We know that you work hard to make your stores look nice and make it a place where people want to do business and want to interact. And so we were going to give you the ability to add your store images and a description. What sets you apart, what makes your store different, and of course, we're internet geeks. You got to have tracking, you got to have stats. And so, and I don't mean you all. I can only say that for us. You want to know how many times people come to your page in the course of a month. You want to know how many people are doing local search in your area for repair, and because those are markers of, hey, this is something I can use, and it's just good validation, return on investment. And we're also going to tell you how many emails you got, because we're going to give you an ability to contact. You're not going to post your email on our page, obviously, but we'll have a contact form where they can ask you a question or they can schedule a repair and contact you. And our intention is to basically do this in a very inexpensive way. We know what AdWords cost, and we know the cost of acquisition. It's high. We want you to be able to pay for this with one repair. We want it to be a no-brainer. And so that's our intention. We're going to kick off our introductory pricing at $25. And my ask of you is to please go to swappa.com/repair. Give us your email address. We'll be reaching out to you, letting you know when we're ready to go. But like I said, we're kicking it off in October with a pilot group. But we're going to be opening it up, far and wide in short order. So that's where we are. Ben and I are going to be here the next couple of days. If you have any feedback for us, we'd love to talk to you. At the end of the day, the programs and things that we have with Swappa, we know a lot of our users. We meet up with them and things of that sort. We want to have a relationship with you, for the long term, and we think this is a great way to do it. And obviously we're working together in other ways today with an ESN check or with pricing, things of that sort. But this is a way to kind of bring it all together, and so we're really excited about it, and hope that you are too. So with that, I know we're about 6 minutes left, so we'll go ahead and do some Q&A if anybody has any questions, and if not, please feel free to stop us. And this is something we're very passionate about, and I think the things that people are doing in repair, that's what inspired this. We wouldn't be here talking about this if we didn't think, the store owners and the technicians and people that are providing software for repair and parts, if we didn't think it was a really exciting place to be. So anyway, that's our presentation for the day. I appreciate your time and attention, and we'll go ahead and open for questions. Go ahead.
Question for you. How often do you refresh your IMEI data? Because turns out you buy a phone, a couple of days later, it turns out it was an insurance claim and it got blocked.
A little closer.
I'm sorry. I was saying, how often do you refresh your IMEI data? Because turns out you buy the phone today, a couple of days later, they may do an insurance claim on the device and it gets blocked. What happens in that case for a customer?
It was about refreshing.
Most of our ESN stuff, our data is it's real time, and so we work with partners through API access, and we keep real time data that we look up. So in most cases, it's refreshed within the last 24 hours or real time. So.
So the other part of the question was sometimes if, for example, I buy something on Swappa today and it turns out a couple of days later it got blocked. How do you guys
How do we handle that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. For that sort of thing, that's where PayPal comes into play, and why we insist on using a payment provider that has payment protections and dispute resolution process and stuff like that. In that case, if you bought something that got blacklisted a few days later, you'd be refunded. You return the device back for a full refund.
Yeah, PayPal has a pretty liberal return policy, and but at the end of the day, it provides good assurance for our customers. But we work really hard. We have a very high satisfaction level in terms of transactions that complete and they don't go sideways. But in the chance that they do, if we can't facilitate the resolution, then PayPal's there, and they always bring it to a close. So.
Any other questions? Yes.
All right.
This may be a little bit into y'all's court, but is there an actual process for blacklisted phones, as in, somebody comes in to buy a phone and it's blacklisted and it's not their phone, to get back to the actual person it was?
Mm-hmm. Is there? No.
Not through us.
Not through you guys?
Yeah, not through us. If a phone usually gets blacklisted through the carrier, it usually has to be the original owner reporting it through the carrier. And so we can basically just report that data because we're not handling the phones. We can't, we don't have our hands on them to try to get them back to the original owner. And I don't think in most cases the carriers are even trying to get them back. It's kind of it seems to be a fire and forget more than anything. And so we've actually had one talk with one carrier who was interested in helping recover some of those devices, but there's a lot of ifs, and not sure how that program's going about.
Can I just ask, in the audience, who of you has a repair shop? All right, great. Well, yeah, we definitely look forward to working with you guys, and I think it's going to be a great partnership. And we know some of you are using us to a certain degree today, but I think this is going to be exciting, and we're looking forward to getting it out the door. So it's pretty well near completion, but needs a fresh coat of paint and a few other things, and so yeah.
Cool. So now you guys don't have a booth, right?
We don't.
Okay,
no.
so are you going to be up at the Venetian Ballrooms?
Sure.
Perhaps today?
Yeah, we'll go up there and all that, and but we'll be around,
Okay.
just in general, and so yeah. And if you have any questions, we've got some cards that we can hand out just on the repair network and so forth, and so. But yeah, we'll definitely be in contact with you if you go and give us your email on swappa.com/repair, and we'll go from there. So.
Okay. Any other questions for these guys? Okay. Oh, one question. Here we go.
All right. I appreciate it.
I've been a Swappa user for about a year and had very good success on Swappa. I was just wondering, with the Swappa Boneyard, I haven't heard you speak much. Would it ever be monitored at all?
Well, it is monitored to an extent.
Yeah.
Boneyard is kind of the forgotten cousin of Swappa's marketplace, and we kind of purposely don't advertise or push that too much. It's kind of a well-kept secret that serves a good purpose for what it does. And we do actually do some monitoring on it, but we monitor basically if you flag a listing, then we do come and inspect it. But it's as opposed to a primary marketplace where most of the action happens, where our consumers can't even see a listing until it's been reviewed and approved. Boneyard works kind of the opposite way, and the Boneyard section of our site is for basically people who do have blacklisted phones by legitimate means to be able to sell them with the context that everything sold on the Boneyard is basically broken or blacklisted. And so where that came about was basically from not as much repair shops as like buyback companies and stuff who paid for a phone when it wasn't blacklisted, and then it becomes blacklisted under their care, and they need a legitimate way to sell them. And so people will use them for parts or for just test devices and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and then to add on to that, it's hard for us to figure out how to facilitate those transactions. We know when it's activatable and it's not broken and all, and then we can feel okay about the transaction and charging for it. But in those scenarios, it's just
we don't charge. We don't charge. It's basically a free service, and meant to be for people who have them by legitimate means to get it to somebody else who has a legitimate use for those type of devices.
Looks like we're at time. So, thank you guys very much.
Thank you guys.